Welcome back. We're going to have to do some things a little differently here just to capture this beast. Before us is a Lionel produced S scale for American Flyer or Northern in the Union Pacific Gray. I've heard this called Greyhound. I don't know. I'm not an expert when it comes to this color scheme. We've got smoke deflectors, also known as elephant ears. And I'll have to do some research to figure out what year or years this engine was produced. A couple things that are worth noting before we dig into what's going on with this particular specimen here. If you are familiar with Northerns produced by A.C. Gilbert, you're going to recognize that this is the same casting. So yeah, we have the applied elephant ears, but aside from that, and maybe I should do that. Maybe I should put a Northern side beside this here. Maybe do that right here. But the casting is the same casting. The tender shell is the same tender shell. It's been dressed up with some new paint, and it's got some new decals, and looks pretty good. The front end, you've got the number boards with the bell protruding out front. You can see we've got handle holds that come down and around to the front. It's what we've come to know, what we've come to love. Even I would argue the way they did the side gear here, this is again just like what A.C. Gilbert did. Now there's some slight differences, but all right, that's kind of where some of the similarities end. So now let's get into this guy a little bit. For starters, this engine runs without the tender because the electrical pickup comes from the trailing truck here. You can see we've got wipers there. I don't know if we've also got electrical pickup happening elsewhere. I haven't dug into things this far. This engine does have a mechanical chuff. So it does supposedly smoke and choo-choo, kind of like original Gilbert. But this thing wheezes when it chuffs, and I'll demonstrate that for you here in a little bit. It has a can motor, so that's a little different. I also noticed that it has a grain of wheat bulb here, so it's got a lit cab. There are no figures in there, but I don't believe that grain of wheat light works. I did run this around the layout a little bit, and it ran, but it showed some issues, like the traction tires here in the rear are both missing. So they've got some pretty good grooves that cause this engine to not negotiate curves or track very well. So that's something that'll need to be done. The other thing that's supposed to happen is there's supposed to be some rail sounds, but I got nothing. So that's something else to investigate. So here is the inside of the tender. Now there are 6 screws that are all the Phillips style. With the 2 at the back, I found that my Phillips driver actually was too big to fit. And unlike the Flyer rear couplers where you can kind of pivot them out of the way, I found that actually a small straight edge screwdriver was able to get those out. So just something to keep in mind if you have one of these and you want to take the tender off. Someone had told me they thought that the earlier versions of this, so this is pre-Bluetooth, pre-Legacy, all the other acronyms that Lionel used to control their engines, they actually used a 9-volt battery. And I just checked the voltage on it, and I'm getting like 0.4 volts. So this thing is dead. No surprises. So I'll replace that. But here's something that I didn't expect. This literally is sitting there loose inside the upper part of the tender. Anyone able to tell me what this is all about? I have no idea. You know, is this a board for DCC? Does it go upside down here like this? All right, so in conversing with some folks that know more about these Lionel made American Flyer engines than I do, apparently this is a TMCC board. While it was loose inside the tender shell, it goes upside down here, plugs in like so, and one of these handles reverse, the other one handles the TMCC signal, is what I've been told. So I guess we will find out if that indeed is the case in due time, in due course. So the next thing I want to do is go ahead and get this plugged in, and we'll see what happens. All right, so the battery is now on. I'm going to go ahead and turn the power on for sound. I'm just curious. Okay, so nothing does happen without power. So let's put some power to the track here and see if we get any response. I hear a little something. So let me next see if it's a volume issue. Whoa. Cab talk or crew talk. Okay. All right, I didn't know if there'd be any chuff sounds or anything like that, but maybe it has to move for a longer period of time. I'm going to kill the power again and see what else happens. Nothing. Okay, so that's anticlimactic. So the next thing I want to do is go ahead and disassemble the engine. Take a look at what's going on in here. I did notice that the wires that are supposed to connect to this trailing truck appear to be completely disconnected. So that's one thing that's not helping this engine run very well. So we'll see what else we run into here in a little bit. All right, we'll see. Gives you at least a side view of this engine in motion here. As you can hear, we have a wheezing smoke unit or choo-choo unit. I did see some smoke out of the smoke unit at high speeds, but it's pretty light. We have a headlight that flickers, and we've got a cab light that doesn't appear to work at all. That's what I know. And as I mentioned before, the wires that go to the trailing truck have, I don't know if they got cut off, broke off. It's hard to know for sure, but those need to be reattached. And I'll have to run new wires because the ones back here that broke, I don't know if you can see that. I mean, they're all sorts of, I don't know, it almost looks like they shorted out or something, and his insulation's charred and they're kind of a mess. So, okay, and a couple things about this engine, how it's set up. Down here, hopefully you can see that. There are two screws with two leads coming off of it. That is the only power supporting this engine right now. So they've got pickups inside these wheels somehow, probably some sort of metal tab sticking out that's picking up power from independently on these sides. And then, as mentioned previously, that trailing truck also plays a role, but yeah, I guess it's got insulated axles. So, okay, so this is each going to help with rail pickup from each side. We've got a cam motor, pretty big choo-choo cam here. Long shaft, goes all the way through. Again, kind of like Flyer did. But I don't know what the metal is. This cup, I'm pretty sure, is brass. I don't know what the actual piston is, but Yeah, it does not make a very good sound. It's kind of pathetic. Um, I'm not sure how far I want to get into that at this point, but that's kind of what I've observed thus far. Also, okay, I'm gonna grab this here. I'll take a little spin around. So the eccentric, unlike we're used to with Flyer, see how that's pretty beefy? That actually becomes the main crank, goes all the way through, and then on the back side it has these two little extensions, and those fit into here on the sides of the wheel. And then they've got this long threaded screw, and that's what goes through the main crank. And there is a spacer like Flyer did. Whoops, where'd it go? There it is. So they did continue that, but they did change up a few things. Also, the main piston and piston crosshead, that again looks just like traditional AC Gilbert there. So some of that's the same. You know, if you put an open frame motor here, got rid of the electronics, and put a traditional smoke unit in here, it could almost pass for Flyer. So, all right, that's what I got for you for the moment, and I'll bring it back when there's an update.